system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised.
Billions of people just living out their lives, oblivious. Choice is an illusion created between those with power and those without.
I drink your milkshake. I drink it up.
Thank you, John Larson. I receive your kind words on behalf of all of our courageous members of the House of Representatives who want the best for the American people. And what we can do that is best for them in the next 24 hours is to pass affordable, accessible health care for all Americans. The best for all Americans is to have 32 million more people to have health insurance in our country. The best for...
Piece of stinking filth.
Shh, say it again, Shali. This is AJ of the InfoWars. Listen to the Shaliak. This is Alex Jones of InfoWars. Listen to Shaliak on the Cold Reality News and Report.
This is the coolest thing I have ever seen.
Well, hello there.
this week on Cold Reality Radio. "100 days for Trump." Has he accomplished anything? Some say he has, some say he hasn't. As usual, the Democrats are standing in his way, like the Republicans were standing in Obama's way. Oh dear. Trump unleashing killer drone squad. U.S. Admiral warns military hammering ISIS so hard they are running out of bombs. Hacker releases stolen copies of Netflix series. ABC, Fox, Nat Geo, IFC, leaks. Ransom demands. Trump is a puppet of the deep state, has no own foreign policy, says Assad. Artificial intelligence to take over half of all jobs in the next decade. Trump says, "I'm a nationalist and a globalist." Belgium issues an apology for voting Saudi Arabia into the United Nations Women's Rights Commission. Antifa and the police state. Planned Parenthood and the Lamborghini lady negotiate harvested baby part prices in a new video. America's opioid death crisis may be worse than we originally thought. That and more on today's edition of Cold Reality Radio here on the UCY.TV Broadcasting Network. Sunday, April 30th already. We are already a third of the way through this very, very pivotal year, 2017. And it's just incredible deception and deflection going on right now. Trump really, truly showing his what his allegiances are and where they lie. And that was, I didn't buy many of the things that he said that he was going to do. Or if I did, then I just thought there's no way that he's going to be able to do any of those things that he said that he could do. Or was going to try to do. Again, it has become incredibly clear why all these things are happening. It took me a number of years to be able to understand
why these things are taking place the way that they have, why America is this very, very pivotal part of the world order, or the old world order. You know, we hear the new world order all the time, and the globalists from, you know, the likes of Alex Jones, but never really points out who these people are. You know, you get, you know, callers that would call in at one time and say, well, why don't we start naming some of these people? Why don't we start, you know, shaming some of them, going to their homes and telling them, blah, 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 you're not going to do this, or you're not going to do that. And then what's the next answer? Some kind of, well, you know, start your own YouTube page and, you know, do what I did, and, you know, not really get to the point of things. Just fearmonger and sell products. You know, help fight the info war. But again, it took a while, and some very, very pivotal points in time, people that brought me to the level of awareness that I have today about why the world operates the way it does. And it's very hard for people to understand that. You know, it's very, very hard for black people to understand. Some black people, I don't think very young people, but you know, they had hopes for, you know, Barack Obama, and they were told that he did all these great things. They were told that he did, and so, you know, you tell people that that's, I mean, you tell people that that's not his real name, Barack Obama. And then, you know, a black guy that I work with said, what's his real name? And I said, it's Barry Dunham. His mother's name was Ann Dunham. I said, if anybody was paying attention, you would have heard that name. And I wasn't paying, you know, a super amount of attention back then. But one of the things that I did hear about Obama was that his mother's name was Ann Dunham. And even then, I didn't say, oh, gee, well, Barack Obama, that doesn't sound like Dunham. One starts with the B and the other one starts with a D. But of course, there are some spectacular bits of information in there. And they asked, oh, well, it says, why does he change his name to Barack Obama? And I said, well, it's some kind of legal fiction. You can call yourself a fucking ham sandwich if you want. Doesn't mean that that's who you are. You can call yourself Cheesesteak McGillicuddy. Doesn't mean that your name's Cheesesteak. Look at Jesse Ventura. His name's not Jesse Ventura, but he was the governor of Minnesota. I was the governor of Minnesota, Jesse Venturams. Ventura Highway in the sunshine. I was the governor of Minnesota in my prime time. You'll figure it out. How could he be a governor under another name? Clint Richardson's figured out a lot of this information and shared it with all of us. And thankfully, because, I would still be on the wrong track. Because I'm not that bright. And honestly, I don't spend a whole lot of time, breaking a lot of this stuff down. But kudos to those who do. I praise those that do this. And Clint, people like Clint, people like Patrick Jordan. If there is a God, then we're looking at two of God's greatest creations right there, just for the ability to do what they've done, to be able to break down words, to be able to understand the meaning of this fake reality that we are participating in. Like Shakespeare said, right? We're all actors participating, all the world's a stage. We're all playing our part. Even Dr. Phil kind of started tapping into it with his authentic self. What is your authentic self? You can't sneak a sunrise past a rooster, okay? You're going to have to connect with your authentic self there, see? And of course, I just wonder how much more of the child sex slavery that he's going to be participating in his program. Not participating, I don't think he's not having sex with children, but he's pointing it out. And I don't know where that's gone or how far that's gone, or where we, where things are at this point with that. But if we're not being completely and totally duped and misdirected and redirected and just, deceived, then he was on the cusp of exposing that, this woman that he had on there was a sex slave, and she was born to, like, the parents lost a bet or something, and then they had to give their daughter to this elite rich guy. And then she started talking about islands and different things like that. Jeffrey Epstein and his island come to mind. That Bill Clinton was there any number of times. These people are absolute it's right there. These people are the fucking scum of the earth. They get away with whatever they want to get away with because the media is owned by those who have a lot to lose if Bill Clinton goes down or Hillary Clinton goes down for the crimes against humanity that they have been participating in for a long time. I mean, heck, Chuck Ocelli pointed out that, Trump may have been on that island as well. I mean, look at Trump and look at his arrogance and his love for himself, the narcissistic behavior of him, gone through many wives, Ivana, Marla Maples, Melania. And, it's just, you could see that, with his power and his money, that if somebody, wanted to blackmail him or whatever, he would most likely, do something that society considers abhorrent and criminal. So there's no doubt in my mind that he, in the circles of elites that he has participated, and he again is a compromised individual as well. So is he going to expose these child pedophile rings where the children are found in cages in basements? I don't think so. Jones brings this guy who's got like 3 or 4 television shows on and says, hey, we're gonna, I saw this and I'm gonna do something about it. Maybe it's real, maybe it's not. Who knows? Who knows? But I will tell you that it's all very suspicious. It's all suspicious. It's all suspicious. It's all conspicuous Jewish. So, again, Trump really beginning to kind of show that he is playing on the side of playing on the side of the power, the money power. There's just no way that you shut down this type of power. Alex Jones is full of shit. And you're going to hear him backpedal any number of times when it comes to Trump and the things that he's done and the things that he hasn't been able to accomplish and the things that he does that are the exact opposite of what Alex Jones has been saying for 2 years now. That he knows about the New World Order. He's going to fight the New World Order. He's going to stop the madness, and he's going to bring back the economy. Now, has he brought the economy back? You have to kind of do that. You can't keep on moving in this direction. So was it him? Was it he that brought the economy back to something that it wasn't before? What was it? Who is it? What was it? That, of course, these things are being reported, that the record numbers, the stock market, blow, pa-pow. Things are moving forward. Meanwhile, they're starving people over in Yemen. They are decimating. Saudi Arabia is decimating, while, of course, training all the jihadi groups and the proxy armies that are fighting in Syria. Yemen is just completely off the radar where the mainstream media is concerned. And what's happening in America? Absolutely nothing. No one cares that we and allies of we are murdering and killing children all over the world. Maybe not necessarily our troops, but do they really even need U.S. troops anymore? They inject them with toxic chemicals to the point where they're half insane by the time they get over there. Test all these vaccines, all these chemical agents on the troops to find out what happens to them, and then, of course, then it goes into your flu shots and your other health agents. So it really doesn't it doesn't make sense. We have had a number of stories. Obama drilled down the military, pulled down the efficacy of the military, apparently. And then you've got Trump saying that we're going to build the military up. We're going to build. And I don't buy it. I mean, I know that it's probably going to happen on some level, but America cannot be powerful. It's not going to be able to protect itself like Israel gets to protect itself with $3, $4, $5 billion of tax dollars that they get from, and possibly even higher, from the American taxpayer and the United States Treasury, so they can just continue to live fabulously in the stolen land. So it is pretty wild. That's all we've heard lately is the 100 days, and Trump is a puppet of the deep state. But then, of course, they'll make you believe that he is fighting the deep state, and that couldn't be further from the truth. He's not fighting anyone. He can't. He doesn't have the power to do this. He does not have the power to do this. And with him being compromised on possibly two big issues, if he goes in a good direction, which is bad for the power elite, then they can just destroy him. I mean, you've seen over the last 100 days how he has completely changed his tune. There's no doubt in my mind, and I've said this before, that if Jones actually talks to him or Roger Stone actually talks to him about what's going on over there in the Middle East with Syria, like why would he approve a bombing over there, knowing that large scale Assad is not the problem? Assad's never been a problem there. It's just that the system, when it wants to remove a leader, now Assad's family has been over there for a number of years. His father led Syria for a good long time. I think that the true nature of people is to just, especially if you're in a seat or a power to rule a country, and then you see, wow, this has been really good for my family. I want to keep this going. I want my son to be the main head of state here. Why would he do things? Why would he gas someone to, that's another case. But of course, why would he do that after all of this? You know, he's already prevailed on so many different aspects of the attacks that have been on him over the last 6 years. Why would he do that? Why would he take all those positive aspects of the last 6 years to be able to overcome what was being done to him and his family and the people of Syria? Why would he gas, chemically kill people? Doesn't make any sense. And when it doesn't make sense, it's not true. It's a lie. But of course, he's another Hitler, because that's why Hitler was Hitler, so that Hitler could be everybody that the system wants to take out. All they have to say is, this guy's another Hitler. And then because we've been taught in these fucking worthless schools lies about the past, lies about every fucking thing under the sun, and quite possibly what the fucking sun is and where it is. We have no way of discerning what is right and wrong. And if you're on the winning team, why would you go against that winning team? Why would you do that? You wouldn't. So they know what your true nature is. They know how to control you. Admitting that they're controlling you is also a very, very, that's the daunting task. So I'm gonna bring Greg in here. I'm just gonna message him. All right, and we're gonna talk. I'm gonna try to make sense of all this senseless shit. And it just doesn't make sense. There's no coming back from whatever this is. And this, again, like Clint has said so many times, this is their creation. They do what they want with it. And what they're going to do is they're going to take their property and they're going to massacre it. And that's what they're doing. That's what they're going to do. It's what they've been doing for years. They wrap a Bible in a flag and then beat you to fucking death with it until you have no fucking ability to be able to make a conscious decision on anything. And that's what we're seeing now. As the technology continues to get, the technology continues to ramp up artificial intelligence to take over half of all jobs in the next decade. And I mean, there's no doubt that we've seen the future. We've seen the future, and it is similar to the Matt Damon movie Elysium. All right, so we're going to bring Greg in here. I have to call. There you go. It is Elysium. They've already started to build ships on the ocean that are huge and will, the breakaway civilization that we hear about so much from Melonhead, Mr. Melonhead Jones. Greg, we have you?
Yep, I was on mute there. Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, a little bit of buzz there, but it seems to be disappearing.
Hold on, let me change headsets here. Hold on 1 second.
So they've already talked about it. The guy from Amazon has already started building. What is it? Like if you saw Elysium, it was this space station, if you will, and it had golf courses and mansions and all kinds of shit. Well, these super ships will hold people.
Actually, not a bad movie.
What's that?
Not a bad movie.
No, not a bad movie at all. And it really kind of life on Earth, because we've been this global warming and the catastrophes that it's going to bring are that it's in everything. It was in Elysium. They're living in rubble. I mean, like Matt Damon walks down the street and like, where's his house? Oh, I live under that pile of rocks over there. So, and then of course, at the end, if you haven't seen it, then they free everybody, because then they all have access to Elysium. And then of course the disease machines, where you just lay in it, it detects whatever disease that you have, and then it cures that disease. But only the elite have it, and they give you a little bits and pieces of it there. Mm-hmm. So, so Clint sent me something the other day. I'm gonna make note of it. It's probably it's pretty long, but I'll post it in the chat room. It's Trump talking to his remarks to the World Jewish Congress, the plenary assembly. I guess maybe he meant planetary, or I don't even know. Maybe that's a word that I'm.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Plenary. So, he's saying things like we have to stamp out prejudice and anti-Semitism everywhere in the world. So, I mean, Trump, I never, first, I didn't believe that he was going to become the president. I thought that Clinton's power was just too dynamic, and Greg, of course, was saying, no, this is that Trump's going to win. He's going to win. And of course, I thought, this is possible. And of course, I fell asleep that night and woke up, and it was like 1:30, and I'm like, oh my God, how many super delegates does he have? And next thing you know, by 3:00, he's the fucking president. And then all of the information that happens, they're going to try to get the delegates to reverse their this. They're going to try to do that. All just divide and conquer strategies. We're at the point now where Ann Coulter can't go to Berkeley. Why would you want to go to Berkeley? I would drop fucking fecal matter on Berkeley University, honestly. Mm-hmm. She goes to Modesto, which is probably 100 miles from there, maybe 150 miles from there. I probably drove through it one or two times. And she gets met with people that think more like her, that Modesto probably has been affected by immigration and the immigration policy. So it turns out that she has a good situation there. It seemed like pretty positive. Now, at one point, I didn't like Ann Coulter at all. I couldn't even look at her. I was like, oh, I can't stand this woman, because I was brainwashed to think that, I was brainwashed to think that I was on the other side of this thing somehow. All right. So next thing you know, Milo Yiannopoulos can't even talk there. And I didn't even know who the fuck Milo was until Greg told me, hey, this gay dude who's like a conservative, he's talking a lot of sense. He's making a whole lot of sense out there. You should, give him a listen. And then I started listening to him, and I'm like, this guy's entertaining. He's telling everybody the way it is. I think there's still some kind of agenda that he has in there.
Well, he was a total tool. He was a total tool. You could tell that he was. But it was interesting that he was being put out on campus, that just to see it as the societal change that's taking place. Like I said on your show, selection was not about Trump. Selection was about us. It was about what we call the people, because we were given a choice. It was the barbarous election. I think it's clear now that, and they really expected, as the system expected us to select barbarous as they selected barbarous back in Jesus's day, right? And then we could be condemned, and that's what it would happen if we had elected Hillary Clinton. We would have been condemned.
I think we'd be condemned either way.
Well, remember, these people are Kabbalists. That very much true. That they do live by a certain code. They live by a code of volunteerism, right? They get us to volunteer for our own servitude, and so they get us to volunteer for our own condemnation. And we didn't go along with the script, so now they have to rewrite it. And Trump was not supposed to be president. I don't think he even realized he was. But it wasn't about him. I mean, I never thought that electing Trump was going to solve anything. I was always saying that, listen, we have to see what he does. If he follows the path, he probably won't, because they never do. He's not in control. He's only the head of a trade association. The change has to come from us. It can't come from a president. These politicians are not going to, they're not going to care. They're just doing what they're told. They're like, they're like people that work for the NFL. The NFL is not a organization. It's basically a trade association of 32 independent owners that does exactly what the 32 owners want. So the United States is the same thing. It's a trade association of the landowners, and the landowners tell the government what they want to do.
Not to get deep into a football conspiracy, but the Deflategate thing.
It's an analogy.
Why did the other coaches or managers want the Patriots to, be,
order out of chaos, my friend? Come on.
Well, I mean, it's just like they didn't have to do it. I mean, he got suspended and they won the fucking Super Bowl anyway. But you're saying, like you said many times before, that this operates, the United States operates in the same way.
Operates exactly in the same way. No different. But just as the NFL would have to change its entire paradigm if the fan base decided they weren't going to show up for the games anymore, or stop buying the merchandise, or stop watching their TV programs, right? Whether it's games or, their networks or whatever it might be. Stop feeding the beast, and the beast will change. So the power always lies with us. I mean, all this talk that the government's going to be oppressive, this is kind of a duality, that they push upon us. It's we condemn ourselves, or we free ourselves. It's all up to us. This is not a top-down system. It's a bottom-up system. They know that. We don't. They play it against us. Their job is not to make us smart. Their job is to make us and keep us as stupid as possible. And they do a brilliant job at that. They really do.
Well, I think another thing that they do is they take people from, and again, I mentioned this earlier in the program, I would not have really truly kind of caught on to this, the in-depthness of this whole thing, that these are bloodline families. These are, with Obama at one point in his 8-year reign of terror on the commoners, 44 cousins in the Senate alone. And of course, the picture he's holding the child, the baby of one of his cousins. So he's holding his white cousin in his hands. And then you go through there and you find out that Jeff Sessions is his cousin. You find out that John McCain is his cousin. You find out that fucking
it's all Game of Thrones, right? It is bloodline. They know it. Remember, like I said, their job is to keep us stupid by preventing us from from understanding the power of bloodline, understanding the power of property. Because that's really what it all has to do. It has to do with the land, it has to do with the property. They own it, we don't. So they're able to extract and excise taxes and fees and punishments against us for being ignorant. So and of course they don't want us finding out what's going to go on, because then they can't do that anymore. So the longer they keep us dumb, the more fines, fees, and penalties they can extract. That's all they're about. The whole thing is just a big fraud scam. I mean, if you think about it.
Obama has no less than 44 confirmed cousins in the Senate, including Texas Republican Ted Cruz, a husband of Obama's 14th cousin, once removed. Now, I don't understand the whole once removed thing. I think it's one generation removed. I don't know. But, when you say this to people, they think, oh, aren't we all related? And then, it's off to the fucking denial. It's off to another fucking trip down the denial river.
They put that "will keep you dumb" gene in you very, very good. I mean, it's worked brilliantly.
Right. Lamar Alexander, Kelly Ayotte, Mark Begich. Now, Mark Begich is the cousin of Nick Begich, which he's some kind of like astrophysicist guy who is on Alex Jones's program. I kind of think he's a brilliant guy, some of the stuff that he does. But Begich is Obama's cousin, Mark Begich, Begich's cousin. Okay, so he's involved and he lives in Alaska. I forget what his website is.
So he's involved in the alt media, right? There you go.
Well, yeah, right.
Michael tells you that the whole thing is controlled.
Right. Richard Blumenthal is Obama's wife's second cousin, 5 times removed, blah, blah, blah. Roy Blunt, Barbara Boxer, the Jewish Barbara Boxer, right? Sherrod Brown, Benjamin Cardin, Thomas Carpin from Delaware, Robert Casey from Democrat from PA, Daniel Coates, Tom Coburn, right? Thad Cochran, right? Michael Crapo, Cruz, there's Cruz, Dick Durbin from Chicago, Illinois, Mike Enzi, Jeff Flake, Al fucking Franken, right? From SNL, Stuart Smalley, Chuck Grassley, Kay Hagan, Orrin Hat, right? Bless you. Tim Kaine, Angus King, Mary Landrieu, Mike Lee, Republican from Utah, 10th cousin, once removed. John McCain, insane fucking McCain, 11th cousin, twice removed. Mitch McConnell, Barbara Mikulski from Maryland, Bill Nelson from Florida, Rand Paul from Kentucky, 5th cousin, times removed. Mark Pryor, Harry Reid is Obama's 15th cousin, once removed.
All in the family.
All right. So I don't know if once removed means that they're closer cousins. I think once or twice removed means 2 generations. I looked it up. Anyway, here's one of the big ones. Jay Rockefeller, who's no longer the senator in West Virginia, but a Rockefeller. Okay, there's Jeff Sessions, Richard Shelby, Mark Udall, Tom Udall, David Vitter, Elizabeth Warren. The banks are bad. The banks are so bad, but Trump's he's a piece of shit, right? That's Elizabeth Warren every fucking time you hear the banks. We got to do something about the banks. And then she walks off stage and the bankers standing there say, yeah, that's cool. That's all you can say. Sheldon Whitehouse, for the number 44. So, I mean, this is how you control a nation, how you control a corporation, all of these people. And that's just one president who's related to, he's related to Ron Paul. So, I mean,
they're all part of the same system.
And right.
Right.
And so you get all these family members together, and whether they know it or not, they're the only reason that they're fucking there is because the system knows who these bloodlines are and who all of these people are bloodlines of the Illuminati that we hear about from what's his name, the guy who wrote Bloodlines of the Illuminati. I actually met him and drank a beer with that guy. So
I don't know if we need to call it the first thing. They are the bloodline of the landowners. They are the posterity of the people that were given the land.
It's just extended. I mean, like if you go back, I mean, Obama, they say he's related to William the Conqueror, which means that Obama's related to George Washington. McCain's related to George Washington. Like all the presidents are all related. So, but people have this incredible fucking time not believing that but they'll sit there and they'll masturbate to fucking Game of Thrones. They'll, people love this.
Listen, people have to. What changed the world once was Thomas Paine. All right, because the only reason why we got what we got was because of Thomas Paine, not because of our founding fathers who understood and they wanted freedom. No, the founding fathers wanted to set up that we got exactly, or we are right now, what the founding fathers originally wanted. They wanted an aristocracy here. Exactly. They wanted a bloodline here, and the fact that the commoners all of a sudden got their panties up in a bunch, and they wanted this thing called that they wanted to be not dependent, not independence. That's another flip of terms that was used against us. Where they wanted real land ownership, they wanted a royal title, they wanted to be the king of their own domains on their own property, and that the government, the trade association, had to follow certain rules in order, but it was based on the common law, meaning that, do no harm. If you broke the common law, then people would have the right to then, deny you of your God-given rights. And that's only to landowners. That was it. The serfs and the commoners and the slaves that were here, those laws did not apply to them. So, but the aristocracy didn't like that. They never liked that. They wanted perpetual control. They don't want new money people. So they have so twisted and gotten us to go against their own best interests. And part of it is the Alex Jones, the Ron Pauls, and all these people. They create the duality, create the conflict, right? While you dumb people down through television, movies, and through this ridiculous so-called education system we have. Yeah. You get everybody just forgetting the basics of life and what it really means, what the whole, let's say, what the fight of generations, thousands of years is all about. They have played psychological warfare on us since 1793, and they are winning. So.
No, 1793. What's the
1787 in reality, that was the year of the so-called year of independence in the Constitution.
Right.
Yeah. Which was, again, as we learned about these things, we said it was the formation of the U.S. aristocracy, of the U.S. corporation, right, as a subchapter of the Holy Roman Empire.
So it's basically just controlling land, coming over here, sending family members over. And I mean, but this is the thing. George Washington being first cousins with the guy over there, the king over there that he supposedly fought independence from, fighting for independence from that. He's cousins with this guy. Was that ever like? By the way,
it had nothing to do with a fight. It just had to do with how are they going to break up the voting. Remember, this is a pirate code. These were pirates. They've always been pirates. They've always been about stealing the resources. When they came over here, they plundered this land. They plundered it of anything and everything they could. Of beaver pelts, right? Of trees. They stripped everything. They didn't care about anything. They wiped out 3 million buffalo for fun. Just shooting them from trains, wiping out, the Indians' food supply. They did not, anything that can be taken was taken. There was no
what was Washington's? What was his? And I've never read anything about him. All I know is that, I know a few other things, but President's Day, we're supposed to praise these people when we're really just, they are the king and queen. He was once the king of us, like the King of England or the the Queen of England, right? So Washington's over here. Why? I mean, there's what they tell us, and then there's what actually was.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what the fuck was Washington doing here? Like, what did he come from over there to here, or I mean, was he just born of a virgin, or like what the fuck? And like, he's the first president of the United States, George Washington. We hear all these stories. He's the first president, and we're supposed to be like, we're supposed to fawn over this guy who's cousins with the European,
aristocracy, sure.
Aristocracy. So was that ever brought up? Like, oh, by the way, we're fighting these people, but I'm fighting my cousin. Was that ever fucking, did he ever say that? Is there a way for us to know? Who knows? I'm just asking out loud. I don't know. An answer.
They didn't go into people's particular bloodlines. What they did is he was a person with wealth and power. All right. With the plantation he owned in Virginia. Because of his blood, his family was part of the original Virginia Company, which settled the United States. They were one of the stakeholders in, the East India Tea Company. All these people were. They were just fighting over how are they going to break up the booty. There were so many riches that were being developed here, and then you had the new money, the new people. These were the beta males, who were the bitch boys of the aristocracy, or the bloodline. That they were sort of like the butlers of the bloodlines over in the when they came to the New World. They had learned, they had observed how these guys, how ruthless they were. And these were the Aristers and everybody. They came here and they learned what the aristocracies had, how they developed their wealth, and then they came here and did the same. And that really was what it was all about. You had a whole bunch of new people who created vast sums of money here, and they do include like the Rockefellers and the Fords and the Carnegies. These were what we call self-made people here, but they weren't really self-made. I mean, they did have help and support from the aristocracy. They were. It was kind of like we needed to have our own aristocracy here. We needed to build our own, as opposed to constantly looking over towards the old world. New World needed its new face, and these people were selected for that. And it's been a mind fuck since day one. I mean, I don't know any other way to say it. How do we, if we are going to look towards a solution, which there are none, it's look to yourself. As soon as we can become, the answer to this is becoming Christ-like. And what did Christ do? Christ was able to show people that the Pharisees and the system that was Rome and Jerusalem in its day was a legal system that was totally dependent upon their volunteerism towards it. So stop volunteering. Pull the plug on the system. That's what the fast was. It wasn't a food and water fast. I believe that's part of the parable. If you put it in the Bible to sort of throw itself to what it was.
You hear the chirping thing? It's like
oh, the birds here. Yeah, I'm sitting.
Oh, are they birds? Okay, all right. It sounded like it was some kind of electronic alarm or something.
No.
So they come over here and they were doing exactly what. I mean, there had to be somebody running the show. There had to be somebody coming over here, because when they came here, there were already inhabitants here. There was already people that lived here. I mean, I'm trying to find out what the real story is, because we've been fed a load of shit, and that we're still repeating it and blathering it out today with the Patriots and all this other shit. Okay. Why were we fighting the British? Did they, we're here, we're established, and then the British came. Why would they have to come over and solidify what was already a takeover with the fucking Washington. So he was here and he was setting things up. Why did we fucking need redcoats when we had the bloodline here already?
Because Thomas Paine put a little thing in people's bug that they didn't need the aristocracy, they didn't need the system, that we could self-govern ourselves. And had that really taken hold, had that philosophy run its course, which the Revolutionary War was to stop that philosophy from running its course, tire people of the struggle,
right.
Then it would have changed. It really would have changed.
That war, we were told that war was fought for what reason? Slavery?
That the war was fought for independence. But what it was,
right.
it was the War of Independence. It put us in total dependence. It eliminated our even the word freedom. You have to be so careful with the English language because it is a tool, a mechanism of control. But
right.
yeah, the War of Independence was to force us to total dependency upon the world system, the trade, the new world order. That's why it's on the dollar bill. That's what the Unus Ortum, whatever they call it. You look on the money. It ensured the fact that this colony was going to remain a shithouse, and that it would be continued to be exploited. The Western world would continue to be exploited for resource. Everything was very European centric back in the day, because it still is a construct of the Holy Roman Empire, which centers, center is Rome. It's that way to this day. It's the capital of the world. People don't know it, but it is the capital of the world. No.
I just
everything focuses back to it.
I remember us having conversations about the reason why, because the Civil War was they didn't want people heading west. They wanted to stop.
That's my theory. They hadn't explored it yet. They wanted to find out what resources were there.
So they just exploited the eastern portion of the New World, but not the West.
Right. I mean, because of territory, the vastness. I mean, travel was very slow. But with the advent of the railway, you could now, what used to take months to cross, you could now do it in a week, 10 days. I mean, which was like going across this huge landmass in hyperspeed. And because rivers had to be traversed, deserts, plains, everything, that kept the commoners in check, and they really didn't really explore much beyond the Mississippi River. It was really under full control. But then by the mid-1800s, that started to change. And the aristocracy was not going to allow the commoners to get a hold of a royal title on land that had resources to exploit. They had never done that before. They weren't going to start now, so they needed to stop them. And at that point, they had been, the economy of the exploitation that was taking place amongst the commoners throughout the states at that time was, people were getting tired of it. They were getting fleeced. We lived in the majority of people were living in, slums in those days. So
right.
The majority of commoners were living very, very poorly. They didn't start living well until after World War II. Prior to World War II, most commoners lived in abject servitude.
Greg, hold on 1 second. I got to answer the door. Hold on.
Somebody's knocking on the door. Somebody's ringing the bell. So we're going to have dead air in the meantime, Shali. That's good.
Sorry about that. Hold on.
That's all right.
Sorry about that, Greg. All right.
That's fine.
So,
the game we were never meant as commoners to be a middle class. They don't like that. The middle class gets you all riled. You start. But we were allowed the middle class to be middle class because it was a matter of control. That's my personal opinion. Middle class. There's no coincidence that the middle class rose with the development of radio, because communication now meant that they could filter propaganda to people right into their own homes. So it wasn't a matter of, well, you had nice things, you had cars, you had 3 bedrooms and a bathroom and a kitchen and a backyard and with a swing set, and, the things that we kind of say everybody should be entitled to, right? Just the dignity of life. Well, they gave us the dignity of life, but we were expected to perform, to work, to do our thing for them, to be productive beings for them, right? To enrich them and continue that going. Now spring forward 100 years. Here we are today. What's going on? Well, they don't need us anymore. They don't need us because we have automated ourselves. I mean, now with mass production, robotics, all these things, they don't need all these commoners. They're only going to keep the ones that they feel are going to help maintain their system. They've known this for a long time, so they create this conflict so that they can bring about the means to which they can sort of clear the field.
Well, I'm pretty confident. Yeah, I'm pretty confident.
Right into it.
What is happening here is definitely a continuity of agenda. I think that Russia knows exactly what's going on. I think they know right now that the plan was that there was going to be a world conflict, and now what's going to happen is probably
they have to play the role.
And they have to play their role. It's like they know that there's no way that and Putin's probably been told, listen, we do what we do, and these events have to take place, and they will take place. If you fight it, then you'll be eradicated. So just move forward and do what is for you to do, and then at that point, you'll be rewarded or whatever. Because there's no doubt in my mind, if Putin was the leader at one time and then became the leader over there again, he's part of a very powerful Russian bloodline. So
of course.
Like Medvedev or whatever, the guy that was the leader prior to that, where Obama was sitting there, telling him, oh yeah, just give me time once I get reelected, and then I will, I'll do whatever it is that you guys want me to do.
We have to recognize, first and foremost, that these people are part of now they're scorpions. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Now they've done a brilliant job of convincing people not to recognize what other beings and people are. The nature of life. Maybe they've done it by the silly movies with talking animals and stuff, that people have assigned various feelings towards other beings and denied their nature, denied their self-nature. So it's the old story of the scorpion and the frog, right? Scorpion approaches a frog at the side of a river and says, hey, can you give me a ride across? The frog looks at him and goes, if I do, you're going to sting me, we're going to die. And I'll die. And the scorpion says, that doesn't make any sense because I'll be on your back. If I sting you, then I'll die too. The frog thinks about it and says, that sounds logical. Get on my back. Halfway across the river, the scorpion stings him. With his last breath, the frog says, why did you do that? Now we're both going to die. The scorpion says, I can't help it. I'm a scorpion. It's my nature. These people, all right, these people are scorpions. And so they have spent literally, decades and decades and decades trying to assign themselves to something different. And this makes up, these bloodline classes as well as the piracy classes, the Jews, powerful Jews, right? They're all scorpions. And so it's amazing when you talk to people about it, or in conversation with people. They try to excuse them. They try to say, "Oh, we're all the same. They're just nice people too." No, they're scorpions. The problem is you don't recognize them as a scorpion, and since you do not recognize them as a scorpion, that's why you get stung. If you just recognize them as a scorpion and just ignore them and learn how to divert, deflect them, and not engage them, then guess what? They couldn't sting you. Right?
Right.
You stayed clear of the danger instead of it going in and saying, well, I'll make friends with the scorpion. The scorpion's not there for you to make friends with. And if you do make friends with the scorpion, then understand that you know who he is, and that'll keep you from falling prey to their schemes, their frauds, their scams, that various things they constantly perpetuate. If people understood that, we could eliminate all of these problems, because the power these people have is totally directed into us. They just completely take advantage of our stupidity and our ignorance. That's all they do.
They've managed to leave us alone and let us, but at the same time, they've also managed to they had to let, some things just kind of materialize, like, technology. But at the same time, we look at computers, we look at how that has advanced so many different things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's created a lot of jobs. It's created a lot of, it works in a lot of businesses. But at the same time, they've controlled it all along. You got Bill Gates, who is quite possibly just not the, this brilliant guy like they say that
he's an actor. He's basically been selected to play a role.
And then we look at, but what do we do? What do we do? Like I was at work, and I looked up, and there was a picture there of Bill Gates. They got some kind of video going there, and Bill Gates, was some kind of quote from him, and I was just like, and I just looked up and I said, that Bill Gates, and the people were standing there. I said, what a piece of shit, and they were kind of taken back, like, how could you say that about Bill Gates? And I'm like, you don't know Bill Gates. You don't really know Bill Gates, do you?
No, personally, you don't know anything about him.
But they were like, they're like, yeah, whatever. I said, whatever. Like, whatever they told you that he is, or, whatever they tell you that he is. I said, do you believe everything that you hear on TV? You just get into one of those things where you just look at people, and then you just realize that they have absolutely no compass. They have no ability to be able to realize that they've been bullshitted. And if you tell them, it's just like this one meme that I saw before. It is easier to fool someone than to tell them that they have been fooled or deceived. So I could walk up to you and like you got money on the table, and then you walk away or something valuable there. And then, you come back, and then you're just like, well, I could have swore that, I had, another 10 here or something. And then you're just like, I wonder, did I, iron lung? So it's like I could fool you easier than to tell you that you've been fooled. And that's the thing. It's just like you talk to people, they had that on this morning. You got that Tyson guy, he's like, they bolstered him up, Neil deGrasse Tyson. They bolstered him up into this, like, science. Like, this guy's going to tell us science, and it's cool, and he's cool, and he's black, and that's even cooler because fill in the blank, right?
Sure.
You've got
he's a meme. That's all he is. He's a video meme. That's all he is to be.
Right. And so they tell the stories of him, and then like I was standing up here. I was in the Bronx, or like whatever. He lived in one of the boroughs, and he gets up there with his telescope that looks like a bazooka. And then I'm like, well, of course the police came, and he said, well, then I had to explain to the police. And then he was like, have you ever seen Saturn? And then he said that kind of changes the, that kind of changes the landscape. So that was pretty funny. But the thing here is that we're told who our heroes are. We are told.
Is that what he said? Have you ever seen Saturn? Is that what
have you ever seen Saturn? And then the police officer realizes that it's a telescope, and he's like, "Oh wow, you're just up here looking. You're just up here looking at the firmament."
Now think about the analogy on that, to how the allegory about that story. Saturn. Saturn is the symbol of the religion of the Pharisees. Okay, it's the Roman Empire. It's the Jews.
And of course, Saturday, and
a telescope that they would confuse for a bazooka that the police have disarmed by saying the word Saturn. Think about that. I mean, it's total crap. But people buy it. People say, "Oh, that sounds logical." Oh my God!
I'm convinced by what I've said. What you conveyed to me. I think it was not last summer, but about 2 years ago. I'm convinced that we have no fucking idea where we are. I mean, I'm at least us as commoners, we have a clue now, but I'm convinced that we're not. I mean, that this is not
everything that we think we know.
Yeah,
you can might as well throw it out and say, well, we probably don't. I mean, it could be everything from is the world round? Is it flat? Is it this? Is that? We just don't know, and people argue. Take stands.
Well, that's the
I don't
thing.
know either way. I said my philosophy is this: I take anything that comes from the Scorpions with a grain of salt, because there's a good chance it's probably bullshit.
Oh yeah, dude. There's
right.
Just no,
they're telling us the world is flat, or they're telling us the world is round. Whatever they're trying to convey to us, probably the chances are good that both of them are wrong. So why take a position
and then you look at the education. You look at the power of the indoctrination of education. What's in there? What's in that fucking classroom when you're in kindergarten, first grade? A fucking globe.
Right.
This is where you are, and that's not. I'm not going to say that's where the indoctrination starts, but
it's part of it. It's a small piece in the
major point. It's a major point in the deconstruction of reality.
Listen, you see it in everything. You see it in architecture, and constantly, put in our face in so many different ways. From the time as everything from it really beginning with television before these kids even get to school. Now they've already received. That's why the kids are so smart these days. You're putting them in front of a TV, which is educating them and bringing them to advanced levels. They have studied the human mind, particularly the infant mind, and how it develops. And they have created programming that help accelerate it, to drive it to get exactly what they want out of it. They're so good at it. And that's why people, the survival of, you might say the survival of the commoners would really depend upon people getting rid of their television sets, which good luck ain't going to happen. That's why they gave us computers. They figured, well, one day these people will figure out they're being totally manipulated through this television thing. So we'll put something in front of them that they need. Brilliant plan, right? Now they got you with your phones. So they're actually. It seems to me like they're almost phasing television out, because I don't see broadcast television as we know it even being necessary. Everything could be on demand. You watch what you want when you want to see it. They put it up all free, accessible by any device. I mean, you'll have a big screen TV in your house so you can be entertained through movies they put out.
Mm-hmm.
But everything is going to be connected. The Internet of Things is coming. This is what they're planned. This is what and there are enough commoners that think that this is good that are going to make this happen. And the total control grid is coming. So there's always an Achilles heel to that. Their Achilles heel is, and the more they do this, the more they make it possible for that little thing, that fly in the ointment. It's like what Jeff Goldberg in Jurassic Park says in that movie, where life finds a way. He studies the chaos factor. They just can't. There's something in us that allows us. Somebody and somewhere is going to find the weakness and exploit it. And I think that's what's happening now. And so they try to get ahead of all of that. This is why you have people part of the bloodlines that are part of the Alex Jones show. This is why Alex Jones exists. This is why the 60s radical movement. These were all movements that were created by the government itself, by the aristocracy and the trade association, because they saw this. They could foresee that people were finding the loophole. They were finding the way they needed to exploit it. They direct that energy inward instead of on to them. As long as they could get us fighting with each other, right, instead of pointing our anger at them, they could literally keep this going forever. Now what they want to do is they know that, okay, with the change that's coming, we really have to get these people focusing their anger and their indignation at somebody else besides these sectors. So that gives them the justifiable reason to our own volunteerism to start this next war, wipe out, a good majority of commoners, because they don't need us, right? And they don't want us. So get rid of us. But they can't do it. I don't think they can do it through like a war like they used to. It's so much hard. It's so much harder for them to really control the narrative because there's too much independent thought out there.
Right.
And I think they scratched their head with it. So they try to control it. Probably of the people that are out there who claim to be alternative media, I say 70% are probably planted, in a job basically to screw the system up.
Well, yeah, just people that are there to bring about a Bolshevik style, divide and conquer.
Right, to break it up. But then there's people that are genuinely, they're not affiliated with anything. They kind of woken up a little bit. When I mean woken up, that's their term. Okay, they kind of understood that it is a bloodline. This is about, this we're dealing in a psychological warfare. This is what World War III is. We are in it now. All right. I think the election of Trump was a huge thing that they are not finished with what they needed to do. And they do not have the control that they figured they once had. They figured that they get 20% of the people, the morons out there, what they consider to be morons, would vote for the guy. But that Trump was never going to be. He could never be crowned as the president of the United States unless he got an overwhelming majority of the popular vote.
Right.
And them saying that Hillary won the popular vote, but he won that's all bullshit. Total bullshit. He got 70% of it. The commoners they've never been in a situation. All right, they held the barbarous election and they lost. They're beside themselves. Now, how do we handle this? Now they can't justifiably condemn us because we haven't condemned ourselves. Now they got to get us to condemn ourselves. What are they going to do? Well, they get Trump to change. They get us fighting with each other. It's never about Trump. Trump's just a tool. Do you think any one man could go into the president of this trade association, which is under total control of these people? They do exactly what they're told and nothing else, ever.
Yeah. He goes his own way, he dies.
Yeah, they can replace him in no time flat.
And then you got Pence there.
And Pence is right there, ready to be. That's why he had to select Pence, because in the event that he did win and he got out of line, they needed their guy to be there. I mean, you could just look at Pence and tell him he's a total tool of the system. Just his body posture. He's so stereotypically, establishment that it's freaking crazy. And is it any wonder that he was the governor of Indiana and Obama, his lineage, the Dunhams they own the state of Indiana? So there's the connection between the bloodlines of Bush, of Trump, Pence, and the Obamas and the Dunhams, which are still controlling. They're controlling Trump just as they were controlling Obama. It isn't about them. It's about us. We have to change ourselves first. The change comes from when you can recognize what the problem is. Look in the mirror and decide it's you. It's not them. It's, we hate them. They're just scorpions. They are what they are. And no matter what you do, you're not going to eliminate the scorpions because there's a lot more of them out there than you know. And they have convinced so many people to act like scorpions. They got no stingers. But because they look like scorpions, everybody's afraid of them. What's that?
It's so baffling to me how just the majority of people actually believe that this is a just system, that this is a system that is.
Well, because they've never been shown an alternative, have they? They've only been shown fear. That's what the alternative does. I hear it all the time with people in the finance world talking about if this system collapses, we're going to have 10 years of, it'll take 10 years for there to be some sort of economic recovery. This is all bullshit. Talk about 10 years. What do you mean 10 years? I think 10 minutes. Right? They could basically wipe out all of the debt and start over. Our economy would boom within days, not months, years, or decades. But in order for the system to maintain its control so that everybody is so involved in this thing that we call the dollar, right? Giving total control to these aristocracies, to these bloodlines, and that's how they control us, through this currency. That they put the fear that if this currency ends, that all of us are going to suffer and we're going to be in total disarray. Well, that could be part of their methodology, but only if we volunteer for it.
Right.
Right? Because you and I can choose to exchange goods and services for whatever we want, okay? Without this level of manner. The whole system that we live under today is totally the love of mammon. And it's so sad to see that we are not charitable with each other. And that's the aristocracy and the bloodlines have done away of robbing that from each other. But it's not completely gone. It's still there because I think it's sort of a base instinct that's within us. It's kind of like when you talk to women who are wrapped up in feminism,
right?
Okay, who are into this whole feminism, feminism that, men are okay, blah blah blah. But this is all propaganda. It's all. They know in their hearts and hearts it's bullshit, and they know they're wrong. It's not. Nobody. They can try and propagandize you and switch your mind, because there's a thing called instinct, and the instinct of a woman is to bear and nurture children. That's why she's born with this uterus. There's no other purpose for a woman in life other than to bear children and nurture. That's her primary function, first, above everything else, anything that the system tells her. And it's the number one purpose for men in order to make that happen, to facilitate that. So by denying us our actual roles in nature, in ourselves, this is what the system has been doing for thousands of years. We can very easily switch it back. That's what they fear the most.
I wanted to play this here because I heard Matt Damon. It's like about 4 minutes or so, but it's got, Matt Damon. I call it The Problem. So let's take a listen to this. Fire this off.
Hello and welcome to the Truth Channel. Today we'll be watching a video of Matt Damon exposing the New World Order and their lies.
I start from the supposition that the world is topsy-turvy, that things are all wrong, that the wrong people are in jail and the wrong people are out of jail, that the wrong people are in power and the wrong people are out of power, that the wealth is distributed in this country and the world in such a way as not simply to require small reform, but to require a drastic reallocation of wealth. I start from the supposition that we don't have to say too much about this because All we have to do is think about the state of the world today and realize that things are all upside down. Now, if you don't think, if you just listen to TV and read scholarly things, you actually begin to think that things are not so bad, or that just little things are wrong. But you have to get a little detached and then come back and look at the world, and you are horrified. So we have to start from that supposition that things are really topsy-turvy. And our topic is topsy-turvy, civil disobedience. Now, as soon as you say the topic is civil disobedience, you're saying our problem is civil disobedience. That is not our problem. Our problem is civil obedience. Our problem is the numbers of people all over the world who have obeyed the dictates of the leaders of their government and have gone to war. And millions have been killed because of this obedience. We recognize this for Nazi Germany. We know that the problem there was obedience, that the people obeyed Hitler. People obeyed. That was wrong. They should have challenged, and they should have resisted. And if we were only there, we would have showed them. Even in Stalin's Russia, we can understand that. People are obedient. All these herd-like people. Remember those bad old days when people were exploited by feudalism? Everything was terrible in the Middle Ages. But now we have Western civilization, the rule of law. The rule of law has regularized and maximized the injustice that existed before the rule of law. That is what the rule of law has done. When in all the nations of the world, the rule of law is the darling of the leaders and the plague of the people, we ought to begin to recognize this. We have to transcend these national boundaries in our thinking. Nixon and Brezhnev have much more in common with one another than we have with Nixon. J. Edgar Hoover has far more in common with the head of the Soviet secret police than he has with us. It's the international dedication to law and order that binds the leaders of all countries in a comradely bond. That's why we're always so surprised when they get together. They smile, they shake hands, they smoke cigars. They really like one another, no matter what they say. What we are trying to do, I assume, is really to get back to the principles and aims and spirit of the Declaration of Independence. This spirit is resistance to illegitimate authority and to forces that deprive people of their life and liberty and right to pursue happiness. And therefore, under these conditions, it urges the right to alter or abolish their current form of government. And the stress had been on abolish. But to establish the principles of the Declaration of Independence, we're going to need to go outside the law, to stop obeying the laws that demand killing or that allocate wealth the way it's been done, or that put people in jail for petty technical offenses and keep other people out of jail for enormous crimes. My hope is that this kind of spirit will take place not just in this country, but in other countries, because they all need it. People in all countries need the spirit of disobedience to the state, which is not a metaphysical thing, but a thing of force and wealth. And we need a kind of declaration of interdependence among people in all countries of the world who are striving for the same thing.
All right, so I think that he really kind of, points out like what really needs to happen, but then he makes reference to, World War II, and then he makes reference to the Declaration of Independence, which didn't really, for me, it didn't really, destroy his message that much, but. That's the way it is. And how many times are these things going to happen? Extreme, theft and bailouts for bankers and all these other fat cats. And then where is the American? Where's the American taxpayer bailout?
Mm-hmm.
Where is that?
We could do a whole show on that thing. I tell you, like to. There's a lot to that we can go into in that.
Well, with what Damon said.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a whole lot there.
And it's true, like civil obedience, like you said, people have to be Christ-like. You can't be obedient to a system that has stolen everything from you. But in a absolute, incredible, mystical, magical way, they've been able to keep the majority of the population in a state of denial or
sure. And one of the big things you could tell at the end there, he's also promoting a declaration of the dependence among the people. This is just another system. All right. This is another manner of control that people have. It's not a system that's going to save us. It's ourselves.
Right. On that note, we're running out of time here. Greg, stay on the line with me.
Sure.
Thanks everybody for tuning in today on this April 30th.
Last day of April.
Last day of April, right? May Day. Watch out for May Day.
Oh, happy May Day.
Happy May Day. What's going to happen? And so stay tuned for Ron and Rock the Boat, and stay tuned for all the other great programming here today on UCY.TV.
Try to stop them. Don't put that on your wish list. That's retarded babble. Protesters make the hit list soon as they start to rabble. We are nothing but fishes in the barrel. It doesn't have to be Christmas for a carol. Some decorate with ornamental decorum. Some perform Shakana on Hanukkah and Purim. That's where my job come in. I am a blessing to the mercenary for the corporation selling weapons to them. Any potential competitor step into them. I'm authorized to knock them out and stick a GPS into them. They want to sell uranium to Iran. That's enriched. That's a bitch. Now we gotta teach them.
This is Ozzy Skateboard, and you're listening to UCY.TV.